There we go. All right, guys, welcome back. Another episode of Orbital. Real quick, games of the week. Rockets start off the week really, really well, beating Indiana in a really, really close game. But then they do drop the next two games of the week to Oklahoma City in a blowout, and San Antonio last night in a relatively close game, but weren't able to pull it off at the very end. Let's get into what we saw. Melo, in his return to Oklahoma City, goes 1 for 11. Not the best showing for him. And then San Antonio, Melo is sick. MCW is also out. Gordon does return and drops 23 points with 26 shots, though. And Harden goes 7 for 27, again, in their loss. Rourke, what did you see in those three games this week?
The Rockets, I see a lot of good things. I see a lot of bad things. A lot of things we still need to work on. It looks like we're there at times, doing well, but overall, it's just the shooting. We're getting good shots. We saw last night. It's San Antonio. We're getting good looks. We're running good offense. We're just not falling. We're just looking terrible. Mike D'Antoni said after the game last night that we just look yuck. We just look like we're getting good shots, but just the finishing is just terrible. And we're last in the league in field goal percentage at 42%. And the problem is not turnovers. The problem is not running the offense. We're getting good looks. We're only 8th in turnovers with about 13. But in total, the offense is just not finishing properly.
Shots, yeah.
Everyone's shooting percentages are down on our team so far this year, and as a team, like I said, our field goal percentage is terrible. And for 3-point percentage, we're 28th in the league at low 30s. So we're below 33% from three, like 31%. So it's really just about finishing shots here. On the defensive end, we're not even that terrible. You think that would be our problem, especially with Fizdelic not back yet, but really, we're only 8th in points allowed. We're only allowing 107, but I think we're only scoring about 100 points a game. Yeah. So, obviously, when we're doing that, you're not going to be able to beat anybody, especially a team our caliber where we're relying on these points in transition, relying on these threes. There's no way we're going to be able to beat teams.
And it's literally you kind of pointed to it a little bit. It's what the Rockets are usually – this season seems so backwards because they're really good at offense and not so good at defense.
Yeah, and usually it's high turnovers that cause our offense to be bad, and it's our defensive giving up transitions. But we're doing good in that. We're just not finishing on the other end. This should be where we're excelling. This should be where we are really making a run right now.
Yeah.
It's everyone's shooting bad. Honestly, we've only had 2 30-point scoring games. One from Harden, one from Chris Paul. So far this season. It's not good. What do you think, John? What do you think the biggest thing is? Just that shooting, or?
Well, I think one is just consistency. I think that the field goal percentage points to it. Consistency is the biggest thing because I'll point to Melo. I'm not gonna try and pick on him or anything, but he'll have games where he's 24 points, 26 points, 27 points, and then the next game is 8 or maybe just 10 or you have the Oklahoma City game where even though the box score says 1 for 11, his one shot wasn't even a made shot. Someone goaltended and it counted. You have those games, and you have Gary Clark, who I'm a huge fan of. Put it on the Instagram last night. I was like, should he start? I've woken up to morning. I don't think he should start, but that's besides the point. He goes 1 for 6, right? And then you had the 1 for 6 when he went 1 for 6 against Indiana as well. Those are 2 games where he's not making shots. Capella is making shots, but he's close to the rim. Harden and Chris Paul, you pointed to it, scoring woes, mostly from their field goal percentage. This is, I've heard a lot of people talk about how this is Chris Paul's worst start of the season in his career. And
really,
we had reports of his elbow injury, it's kind of bothering him a little bit. Maybe that explains it, but I think it's just consistency in its field goal percentage. If those shots, that's the thing. I think that's why you're not hearing a bunch of panic from the Rockets themselves. They're getting the shots they want. If they go in, this is a whole nother story.
Yeah, and Chris Paul said he thought it's going to start balancing itself out pretty soon. Eventually, we're going to start making stuff. It's just everyone's having a bad shooting year. Talking about from Gerald Green especially, and we got people like Carmelo Anthony. Everyone's talking about, but it's just everyone. There's only 2 players on our team shooting the ball 40% from 3. You want to take a guess of who they are? Who's the leading 3-point per shooter, John? You can say it. It's all right.
I think it's James Ennis.
Yes, bro. It's fucking James Ennis. Shooting the ball at 42% from the 3. And the only other person shooting it over 40% is, I believe, it is P.J. Tucker. PJ Tucker, actually, yeah, he's shooting 44%, and then we got
Oh, dang. Okay.
Dennis shooting 42. So it's not good. Everyone else pretty much pretty low 30s,
Yeah.
and that's good for some people. But yeah, it is. It's just this. We're not making shots, and you know this is gonna be hard to win when you're doing that. But yeah, I got our stats pulled up for how many
Yeah.
points we score in a game. We're only scoring 101 and 0.5 points a game, and that's 29th in the league. You know, who's scoring the least? Phoenix. Okay, we're
Oh.
right now. We're talking about
Oh.
like Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, Harden's shooting all right from three. He's shooting 36%.
It's as usual.
Still
Yeah.
down from last season. Last season it was pretty close to 40.
Really?
Paul is 29%. Eric Gordon, 23%. Terrible.
Yeah.
Eric Gordon, and while he looked really good. That dunk last night. I mean, Eric
Oh,
Gordon.
I loved it. I put that on the Instagram too. That's great.
He's being aggressive, but like when you take into account that he's shooting the most amount of shots besides Harden. So Harden shoots the most. He shoots almost 20 a game, and then Gordon's shooting 17 a game.
Yeah.
And then
last night he scored 23, but it took 26 shots to.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
but I mean, no one else is being aggressive like him. You could tell as soon as he got the ball in his hands, he's only looking at the rim. He's only looking to score.
Yeah.
So it's I like that mentality, but we need to start getting better efficiency with it if we're going to win any games.
James Evans had a bad shooting night last night, but
we're still in the game. Like so, OKC we were pretty much out of the game.
yeah, that was done.
Antonio, it was 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left. I think the score was tied 86, up, so 85 up. So I remember it was a close game, especially against the Spurs. DeMar DeRozan didn't really have a good game, so it been a chance for us to really capitalize. But obviously, no one on our team was playing pretty well. But we're getting back into it. Looking ahead. We'll preview next week, but I think we're going to be all right. Like I said, we're getting good looks. We're doing the right things. It's not like we got real problems turning the ball over on defense or anything. We're actually playing good defense. We're getting back in transition. We're just not finishing easy shots. I mean, Chris Paul, James Harden, Eric Gordon, all these guys are missing easy layups. They're getting to the rim. They're finishing with floaters or finger rolls, and they're just rimming right out. So it's just a lot of shots aren't going on away. And when we've scored, we can't score over 100 a game. I mean, last season I think we didn't only score 100 like 6 times.
Maybe.
And this time we've done it that many times. Like it's terrible. What do you think? Would you say if there's one thing we got to start changing, looking forward to next week, or something that we got to focus on? What would you say?
I mean, I've always been a big proponent I've never been the hugest fan of the ISO system that Houston runs, even though I'm like a huge Houston Rockets fan.
Yeah.
But I mean, you think game 2 Western Conference Finals, like, we blew the Warriors out mostly because you have the ball moving more. And that's what I think it should be. Like, let's speed this up. Let's not. I feel like you miss a couple shots, you slow down, you're like, geez, am I going to miss this next shot? Like, so let's speed it up. Let's get the shots going. Like, I don't care if you take 26 shots if it means we win, right? Like, if Gordon wants to do that again, they're 23 and 26. Like, go for it if we win. It's when we lose that you look at that stat and you're like, that's really inefficient. You look at Harden 7 for 27 last night. You're like, that's really inefficient. One, I think it's put everything behind you. This is 0-0, start over, get a fresh mindset on everything. I just refresh yourself. I mean, they've got a game against Indiana today. They've got Denver on Tuesday at Denver, which is even a hard place due to altitude and all this stuff everyone always says. They have Golden State on Thursday. That's the game that I'm focusing on. Like,
tough. I mean, Denver, are you kidding me, bro?
Denver's they're top 5, maybe top 4 this year. And then Sacramento to finish off the week. Which usually that's a pretty easy game. But even then, it's not an easy game because they're kind of playing really well this year. But I think most importantly, you just don't lose against Indiana. Compete against Denver. Take the Golden State Warriors day as a must compete day, and then Sacramento a must win.
Yeah, see, I hope so. Problem is, Denver has lost 2 straight. They were 9-1 for record, and now they're 9-3. They are looking crazy. Jamal Murray is on fire, dude. He scored 48 the other night. That game's gonna be rough, and especially Indiana, dude. I mean, we just pulled out a win at the very end against Indiana. They're pissed. Oladipo, he was hitting threes back to back. He was bringing them back. They almost beat us,
Yeah.
and we were lucky to win that. And so, yeah, we were talking last week. We were thinking we needed to win it against OKC and last night because I'm telling you, this week it's not getting easier.
No.
Yeah.
After that week, they have a relatively easy after that, they're November 19 through 24. They only have 3 games. They've got a 3-day break after their Sacramento game where they play Detroit. It's a home at home, so they're going to play against Detroit in November 21st at Houston, and then they play in Detroit on the 23rd. But then they play in Cleveland on the 24th. But even then, I look at that week and I'm like, okay, that's a better week.
Yeah,
you can have.
yeah. But still, dude, even Sacramento, bro, they're 7-6. That's better.
Yeah.
That's better than the Jazz and the Pelicans for reference.
And us.
Yeah,
and us.
Dude, I'm looking at our stands right now. We're 4-7, right? I don't know
Yeah.
if we've even said that. We're officially 4-7 right now.
Yeah.
Got to be one of the worst starts I'm telling you in recent history. But yeah, but that's only better than the Mavericks who are 4-8, the Timberwolves who are 4-9, and the Suns who are 2-10.
Yeah.
And so we are 12th right now in the Western Conference, and 8th seed, like I said, is the Kings at 7-6. So we got to start making a push here. And unfortunately, this week it's going to be hard. I mean, I hope we win 3 of these next 4, like you said, going into Sacramento. So if we can,
3 of the next 4 would be like a good week.
I think it'll be honestly good if we come out with 2 wins. So if we win tonight, and then we'll probably lose to either Denver and Golden State, and then beat Sacramento, or hopefully we'll pick up a win against Denver or Golden State. I think it's gonna be really hard to beat Denver and Golden State. I mean, hopefully, you never know. Could have some bad blood against Golden State, facing them a little bit of revenge. Could kick it into gear. It seems like when we play good teams, well, LA is not even that good, but I'd say the one time it looked like the Rockets, we were back, was that second game of the season, coming back for 36. Everyone was shooting well, everyone was playing well, and that looked like, okay, this looks like our Houston Rockets basketball from last year. But other than that, we've looked terrible. I mean, we are 29th in raw points per game at less than 101.5, and we're ranked 28th in efficiency on offense. So I mean, it's absolutely terrible. And assists, dude, we only scored 11 assists we only had 11 assists last night, which is terrible.
That's the one thing I was watching during the game. I had the stats pulled up too, and it was Harden's not making any assists. Chris Paul's not really getting any assists. Well, he finished with what did he finish with last night assist wise? Is it 4? You the stats up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pulling it up too. But yeah, it was we only had 11 assists on 30 field goals last night. So, yeah, it was not pretty. I mean, a lot of people were attacking. Like I said, Eric Gordon was taking a lot of attacks in. It seems like we could probably feed Capella a little bit more. He's still playing pretty efficient. He's looking better than ever, obviously.
He doesn't seem as big of a part of the offense as he usually is this year.
Yeah, it just seems like we're not trying to get him involved. There's not as many oops going up this year. But he's still getting his. I mean, he's still averaging close to 15 and a half, as much as Chris Paul and Eric Gordon. So,
sure.
I mean, and he's doing it on a lot less shot attempts than they are. I'll tell you that.
He's only good thing. That's the part that's kind of encouraging. But I'll literally watch the game and I don't know if it's just watching so much of the Rockets last year and that's just ingrained in my mind. But I'll literally watch them play and I'm like, there's an oop. They're gonna do it, and it's not. It doesn't end up my brain thinks it's gonna be an oop to Capella. But it's just Harden throwing up a layup or something.
Yeah. It's I mean, like I said, yeah, the looks are there. We just need keep running through that pick and roll, get Capella some more shots because he's only taking 11 a game.
Yeah.
And if he's got the highest field goal percentage on our team at 60%, best efficiency through that. We need to just be getting more looks. And it looks like whenever we get him on the block, he can do some sort of post move, some little sky hooks, some little something. So it's we can get him his own looks. And to try to get some easier buckets because even though we're getting good buckets, they're just not falling. And we just need to start getting to what's easy, what's good. Because what is good for us, all these open threes, corner threes, are not falling right now. Yeah. So we got to find another alternative to that. And for the record, Chris Paul only had 4 assists last night. James Harden had 3. Eric Gordon had 2.
Yeah.
No one else had over 1. How do you expect to win, especially against a team like the Spurs? So
You know what I think might help is so I was looking at the stats last night. And like Chris Paul, I think for his season he's averaging like 14 and 8, like 8.8 assists I think for the season. But yeah, he's having really bad games recently. But I was looking at Melo's stats. Looking at Melo's stats, and you look at him, he's averaging like 13 points, 5 or 6 rebounds, and then every stat after that isn't even at one. Like not one assist, one steal, one block, not even one turnover, which I thought was good. But I feel like I'd take one turnover. It means he's averaging like 2 or so assists. Like let's get the ball moving more, and let's not just use him as a shooter. Like let's make him
Yeah,
as
I
as
remember.
very as versatile as possible.
Yeah,
Not probably not
I
very
think
possible, but
a couple episodes ago, I was saying how Melo looked like kind of his flow in the offense was kind of similar to how he was in OKC, to where he was kind of on the receiving end. He wasn't be able to create anything. It was kind of like rush shots he was taking, getting put into positions where it was like, okay, we'll get him on a skip pass or swing pass. That's a good pass, but
mhm,
then it's either rush to either pull up right there or do some sort of punt fake sidestep three.
mhm,
But he's not really in a position to where he can run anything. It's like on the receiving end of something to where he's having to finish quicker. He's having to make a quick decision and respond what's going on. But everyone's hating on Melo. I mean, it's bad, but he could be like it could be worse. Like
it's
at
true.
least he's shooting better than he was shooting at OKC. I mean, he's still shooting bad, but 32% from three. It's compared to some other people on our team. I mean, it's actually close to 33%, so it's almost efficient.
Hmm.
Uh, and then from twos, he's shooting 50%, 49%.
Hmm.
So it's not terrible, terrible.
No, no, it's not.
Uh,
David Weiner had a good point that like he's essentially just a Ryan Anderson replacement. And if you think about him as a Ryan Anderson replacement on the vet minimum, he's doing great, averaging 13 points and 6 rebounds for that. And I thought that was a good point, right? Like that's a good point.
If they're going to go up, he's going to probably get close to 15 or 16 a game,
I hope
unless
so.
unless his minutes take a hit. But I don't think they will. Everyone's talking about him taking a lesser role right now, meeting with Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah.
Um, you got to get the ball to your best players, especially to get good buckets here. And
Hmm.
there's no doubt. Eric Gordon could be taking a couple too many shots. So I think we'll start moving the ball around a little more. Obviously, we still got injuries going on with our team. We still got a lot of people not even playing, not even getting real reps. We haven't even really seen much from Marcus Chris. Mike Carter Williams hasn't played really recently. Like we said, we just got Clark coming back right now, getting to Hartenstein, who thought he'd be playing as much as he is right now. Oh my
No.
God, you see him on the offensive boards?
Yeah.
He's doing work. But, I mean, it's just like our team's not even that healthy. So combine that with not making shots, you see the slump running now, which is a little exaggerated right now to how
Yeah.
bad it really should be.
Hmm.
But like I said, like what Chris Paul is saying, we're just shoot ourselves out of it. It's honestly, if you look at the Rockets right now, and if I was to tell you that we were going to be 4-7 to start, you'd be like, oh god, here we go, this is going to be terrible, whatever. But if you
Hmm.
look at the problems we have, they're probably like the easiest, best solutions for us to fix.
Yeah.
I mean, team that shot more threes, made more threes than anyone else in the history of the NBA, and you say, okay, hey, you got the worst 3-point efficiency right now,
Hmm.
11 games. What are you going to do? That's the team you want to help fix that. You're missing the most open shots more than any other team in the league when we made the most open shots last year. So, I mean, it's like we can fix these issues. A guy like Mike D'Antoni, who's only considered for being really good on offense,
Hmm.
this should be our cup of tea right here to be able to fix it. And it's still really early, so I'm hoping get on a little streak, start making some shots, people start getting confident, and then boom, all that is in the left side rear view mirror. We're not even looking at that, and we're just going forward with how the team we used to be. But from a talent standpoint, from a skill standpoint, I mean, we're almost better than last year. Seriously,
Hmm.
I mean, people look really good coming off the bench.
Hmm.
I mean, Green looks like even once he fixes his shooting, it's like he still looks as athletic as he has been. James Ennis is looking pretty good. I mean, he's looking pretty athletic coming back from injury right now. And like we said with these new plugins like Clark and Hardenstein, and I
I see
can't
what you're
wait for
saying. Like, kind of offensively, we have more potential.
I can't wait for Chris and Brandon Knight to come back. I think Brandon Knight's really going to help us. But once we just need a little bit more help through that. But I think next week, like we were previewing next week, I think we could get on track if we start hitting those shots. We get a dub tonight against Indiana,
Hmm.
set us up. But it's going to be hard. I'm telling you, they're going to be coming for our throats since we barely eked out a win last week against them.
Yeah, and I think if they can take that game, I think that gives like if they can withstand that push that Indiana is going to have, I think that's a good win for them to be able to like
Mhm.
overcome that adversity. And if you're not coming in with the dog mentality that Indiana might come in with, if you can still overcome that, I think that's a big confidence boost going into the Denver game. But we'll see. The next thing I wanted to get to was the Jimmy Butler trade. This happened yesterday. Full trade. Butler and Justin Patton are going to go to Philadelphia for Jared Bayless, a 2022 second round pick, Dario Saric, and Robert Covington. I think this is a terrible trade for both sides, not just because the Rockets had a better offer, but also for the pieces that are involved. I'll go into it a little bit. Well, first off, what did you think about the trade?
Um, I mean, you gotta take it from the standpoint of if you're Philadelphia or if you're Minnesota, what did you want to get from the trade? Because um, there's arguments to be made from both standpoints on like was that even the best trade that they've been offered? I mean, a lot of people are saying they would have had 4 first-round picks from us over Saric and Covington or
And,
whatever. But you're
weren't
Minnesota.
Chris and Knight also involved in that trade as well?
What do you mean?
Like the biggest offer I had heard was that it was going to be
I
Knight,
thought one of them
Chris.
was. I thought one of them was. I didn't know they
Really?
both.
Okay.
I didn't. I don't know.
I
I don't
saw
know.
it somewhere. I lost a tweet by this point, but
But it fell through because we weren't going to put in Gordon or the other
or
person
Tucker, yeah.
Tucker. So I think if you're Minnesota, they're coming. You got to remember, uh, they're coming from the standpoint that they're trying to win now in a way. Still not like win at all now, but like they're still got enough pieces with
Trying to
Wiggins
compete.
and Cat that they're trying to compete. Derrick Rose is playing well, so they're not really ready to throw in the towel, take the 4 first-round picks, and just tank it out.
Mm-hmm.
They're not confident. I think that was the ultimate decision because that's why they declined our offer because we didn't include a win now piece like Eric Gordon or PJ Tucker. So they wanted some pieces like Sarge that could help him out and Covington. And like Sarge can develop to become more, and he wasn't getting as much playing time as he probably deserves
Mm-hmm.
in Philadelphia just because of all the pieces. So I think it's good. I think it's good for them. I think Sarge really good for him. And the more opportunities that they're gonna have. Um,
I think sorry. I think that for what you got, like, okay, so I think it's a bad trade because obviously what you could have gotten, I don't think Minnesota's winning anything with the whole Jimmy Butler being there. I didn't think they were going to win anything with him not there. I don't think they're going to win anything right now. And I think Philadelphia, here's the thing. I think you can look at it and it's a great trade for both sides because one, Cat now has a stretch big alongside him who's not Taj Gibson, right? So you can space the floor better and you need that. And then you also have Covington who's shooting like 39% from three this year. And he brings better defense. He brings, I don't even know who their small forward is right now. Like, I'm assuming it was obviously when Butler and Wiggins were playing, it was probably Wiggins who played the small forward there, or it was Butler. They're probably interchangeable. But without him in the lineup, I don't know who their small forward is unless they bring Derrick Rose in on the shooting guard. You've got Jeff Teague at point guard, and then you just Wiggins over to the three.
they play Dang sometimes, but sometimes it just depends if they got like Tyus Jones in the game or who else
Sure,
they got.
sure.
But
But like so now they have a clear cut starting small forward
no,
and a better power forward. So they got off really well in that they did get a more consistent, better, and they addressed needs that they needed. And
yeah, they
then
also have
Philadelphia
a
gets a
lot.
brand new star. Like Philadelphia does get a star. They need that star. My biggest worry with Jimmy Butler going to Philadelphia is you just traded Robert Covington, who's almost shooting 40% from three this year, in a lineup that usually includes Markel Fultz, who until we see him shoot consistently above 37% is a non-shooter, in my opinion, or at least someone that you cannot count on a nightly basis to shoot well from three. And then you also have Ben Simmons, who's a flat-out non-shooter. And then you add Jimmy Butler, who's like an inconsistently decent shooter. Who, I mean, I'm probably devaluing him a little bit when I say that, but he's not a marksman that you need in that lineup. JJ Redick, great shooter. They have him. Who's their next good shooter, right? Like, Joel Embiid shoots from the three, that's cool. But I feel like on that team, you look at last year, they had Bellinelli knocked down. You had Ilyasova knocked down. You had Redick knocked down. Like you had those players, and they were knockdown shooters, and those were three. Like in my opinion, if you're going to build a team around a superstar that cannot shoot, you need at least 3 to 4 really good to decent shooters to
Hmm.
help complement that. And they gave up the 2 guys. I know Sarge is only shooting 30% this year, but I think he's had the potential to stretch the floor, and you still have to guard him. And that
Yeah,
still affects how the defense plays Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz and Joel Embiid as well.
I definitely agree. And yeah, for the record, um, Redick shoots the most threes on the Sixers,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that, it's Covington and then Saric
Yeah.
that shoot threes. So they both shoot about 6 a game, whatever. But losing those two, yeah, they're not going to be nearly the 3-point shooting threat that they are. And I think they'll still probably make a couple pieces, try to get a couple pickups here because they're going to need more shooting, especially with the way they space the floor
Mm-hmm.
and run it through Simmons and Embiid. But I think from the terms of how it makes the 76ers better in the East, it's going to be a toss-up to two. It's hard to tell right now who's going to be the best team between the Raptors, Celtics, Bucks, and
Mm-hmm.
Sixers, which is actually a good problem to have. They're actually looking better than a lot of people were thinking all those teams are, honestly,
Yeah.
except for maybe the Celtics. The Celtics look like
They're
they
playing. Yeah. They
they were
just
getting
gotta
better.
figure out how to get
Uh,
everyone involved.
but yeah, those 4 teams look like they can be pretty good. It's good for the East, but in terms of like the general scope of the NBA, I don't think it's going to really match up too much. Timberwolves probably honestly will still be pretty bad.
I don't think they're making the playoffs this year. I didn't think they were making the playoffs the year before.
They're not.
But we'll see.
So they probably should have taken the 4 first-round picks. But
Yeah, I mean that was my thing. I was like, listen, like we've seen through this whole Jimmy Butler thing that like Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins aren't. I mean, maybe not throughout the Jimmy Butler stuff, but last year you saw it a lot, right? You lose Jimmy Butler, and these guys who are supposed to be Wiggins was paid like a superstar then. Cat is now paid like a superstar now, and they weren't carrying a team. And you have a two-headed monster at that point, and you should be able to carry something and not lose 5 playoff spots, and then have to battle for the last playoff spot at the end of the regular season if you lose just one player.
and who knows what Jimmy Butler's going to want to do. Like the 76ers are banking on re-signing him, trying to bring him back. They can sign him for more than any other team can. I think I was hearing about it yesterday. How the most any other team can sign him for is like 4 years, 160, 140. But the Timberwolves could offer 5 years at 190, which is more than any other team. But like I don't know. Not the Timberwolves, the 76ers.
Yeah.
If he's going to want to do that.
Well, here's the thing. I was looking at it, and I was actually talking to a Philadelphia fan the other day, and like not only can they re-sign him, it was just yesterday, not the other day. They not only can they re-sign him for more than anyone, but they would still have like 15, 16 million dollars in cap space after that
Yeah,
to
so
go out and get like a Kemba Walker or something. Trade away Fultz, give him to some other team, give him out of that situation, but or just keep him, and you still have 15. I think max $21 million in cap space they would have after signing Butler, depending on how much they sign him for. And you can go out and get a Kemba Walker for $20 million, or go in the luxury tax a little bit. You can do that,
Yeah.
and then you're looking at a big deal. But
So,
I don't know. I'm excited to see what the debut looks like and how all that works out.
So the Rockets.
Yeah, back to the Rockets. Melo had talks with D'Antoni about what his role going forward on the team is. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I heard talks about decreased role coming off. It's just going to take some time to mesh. I think, coming from a minute standpoint, it's not like he's playing a bunch of minutes. I mean, he's playing 28, 29 minutes a game. It could be considered a lot. I mean, what are you going to try to take that down to? 25? I mean, like it's not even like his minutes will go down when other people start to get more healthy. But from a standpoint we're in right now, what are you talking about? You're gonna play Clark more. You're trying to
I
play.
love seeing Clark out there. So like personally, I would give him minutes. Maybe not start him. I think that was a little. I think I was overreacting last night, but but I want to see him with an increased role, just because I think he's meshing well. I think he's picking stuff up well, and he's playing with confidence. That's the biggest thing. And he's a 6'8", like 230. Like that's what we want out of our like power forward and small forward. Like he's not He's not immobile to play small forward, but power forward is probably where he plays best. And he seems hungry. He seems like a hungry young player, and like Rockets don't have a lot of those in any way. So I like seeing him out there. Um, but with Melo, I think kind of going off of what Wayner said about Anderson replacement, I really think that that's a good place for him. And Anderson did fall out of the rotation against some teams and at some points, so maybe that's all that is. Yeah, I mean, I don't want him to fall out of the rotation entirely. I think he can be used, and he's averaging 13 points a game on relatively efficient shooting. I don't want to see him like get thrown out of the rotation or traded or bought out or anything like that. I think he can help. Just how we do that is a question.
Got you. I mean, I think I agree. I agree. I think Clark's minutes are going to go up, but I think like it's feeding into what a lot of the media, what a lot of people are saying about Melo and how good he should be. But when you think about that role that he really is, I think compared to Clark, he shoots a three better, even though they both shoot it below 33%. I mean, from field goal percentage standpoint, Clark shoots it the two barely a little bit better. I mean, it's like. I guess I think Clark probably plays a little more athletic defense. But I mean, Melo, he's actually moving his feet. So I think his defensive efficiency isn't terrible. So it's just everyone's talking about it because the Rockets aren't shooting well. I mean, if the Rockets are hitting more shots, shooting well, people would be saying that Melo's fitting in well. It's good. It's going all right. It's not bad. It's just everyone's overreacting because our start's been terrible, which like we said, we contribute and attribute to them just not hitting their shots. We're getting the look.
It's kind of scapegoated a little bit.
And as soon as they start falling, which they will pretty soon here, when it starts to balance out, Chris Paul is talking about it. It'll even out. Yeah. And when it does, everyone's gonna be saying, "Oh shit, like Rockets are meshing so well. His pickups, Melo's finally starting to fit in, whatever." Yeah. But honestly, it's just
the narrative's gonna like completely change after that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm not too worried. I'm really not too worried. Like I said, I'd be worried if we're talking right now like the Rockets' problems were like we're allowing way too much defense. We're like the worst defensive team. We need physical back like right fucking now, trying to come out whatever. But like we said, our problem right now is hitting open shots and hitting our threes, and that's what I think that we're gonna be able to do the best, and we should be able to do the best. So not too worried about it. Looking forward, like I said, we got a tough week this week coming up, but hopefully we got to win tonight, start get the ball rolling, get things rolling. Who knows? When we talk next week, and I mean, if we could upset Golden State, we could upset Denver. We have the caliber, we have the talent still to beat them. So it's just about coming in playing well.
And honestly, we haven't talked about this. Steph's probably not playing against us.
Yeah, no, he's not going to. But I mean, Quinn Cook put like 28-7 up last night.
Oh God.
Cook's playing well. Cook might get traded. People are talking about Cook. He's too good. He could get traded away from there. To get some more, because he can play somewhere.
Yeah. I think the Terry Rozier of that team.
Pretty much, dude. Yeah, and he's young, so he's about to really step up now. But
you know where he went to college, don't you?
Yeah, but I think we should, hopefully we can beat Denver or Golden State, get a win against one of those teams, because we do not want to be looking at ourselves being like 5-11 next week.
Or, yeah, you don't want to look at yourself like that.
Whatever. We need to start getting closer to 500 a year. So I agree with you. And I guess recap what we were highlighting here. We talked about how the Rockets, how we're playing this week, our take on how they're looking, what our biggest issues are, really highlighting how it's on the offensive end. Our defense isn't that bad, but really coming down to just hitting open shots, getting the open looks and good stuff, finishing in transition. And we'll start picking up those wins, start picking up our ratings. We'll start picking back up. And then people will start not outlining the Rockets like, oh, Melo's playing terrible, Chris Paul's having his worst season yet, all these different types of things people are talking about. But once that starts happening, all that hush, all that noise is going to decrease. Everyone's going to be looking at the Rockets again as a good shooting team, and we'll be getting back up there. So we're having a little bit of struggles here, but I think we'll come through. Got a hard schedule next week previewing the teams. Hopefully we can split the wins 2-2, but we also talked about a couple little suggestions we'd like to make with how we think the Rockets offense or Rockets team could overall improve, and highlighting some big key issues right now in the NBA, where we stack up in the NBA, and also some other stuff relevant like the Jimmy Butler trade happening in the NBA and how was that really worth it, and where the Rockets are going forward next week. Hopefully racking in some W's, but who knows with how things are looking right now. I mean, you'd think we'd be hitting our shots right now, be doing what we're supposed to, but at least we're competitive still.
Yeah,
At
I think
least
that's the biggest thing. Not a lot of these are blowouts. Oklahoma City was a blowout, but not a lot of these games are recently are huge blowouts. But
yeah.
I think like we said a little bit earlier, 3 wins for the week would be great. And starting tonight, of course, 2 wins would be good. Anything below that is really like it's another worrisome week. But taking they can notch out 3 wins, I think that's like a good solid week. 2 wins, you're doing really well.
Yeah. And my biggest thing is we've scored over, I mean, under 100, I think 7 times so far, 6 times this season. When we only did that like 7 or 8 times all of last season, and we're
Hmm.
only 11 games in. We're more often than not scoring under 100 this season. When last season it was so rare for us to do
Yeah.
that. So in terms of how we're gonna be, all the pieces are still there. We'll be all right. It's just we'll start hitting shots and then we'll start reeling it in and people start, once people start hitting them, it starts catching fire. It's momentum. It's infectious
Yeah.
how people are going to take off, and especially a team like us. I'm not too worried about it. I'm
I think it
excited
starts
though.
with Gordon though. I think when we start seeing that, I think it starts with Eric Gordon having one of those really crazy games. I think that's when all
Yeah,
this kind of starts rolling.
gosh, yeah. Someone's gonna have to start hitting shots. Melo's having good games here, there. We'll be all right.
Yeah. All right, guys, that is another episode of Orbital. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like on it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. We love when you guys watch these episodes. We love seeing all the views. We want to see more subscribers, and we want to see more comments from you guys. What do you guys want to include in the show more? What do you guys want us to talk about more? What are your thoughts about what we talked about today? Let us know in the comment section down below, and we'll see y'all next time.
There, Houston.